on some Boise's New York State approved website, and I got it. I printed it out. ChatGPT helped me formulate for her needs, and we're able to get it squared away very, very quickly.
Yeah, and like, and think of the time it saved you, right, from having to create that lesson plan from scratch, when really you can just pull it from like tried and tested plans that are publicly available, but sometimes hard to find.
Yep.
It also saves you time. It also saves you the
Brett's
time.
here.
Hey guys.
Hey.
It saves you time to have to look at crappy resources. And when there's ways when I can't, like you just said, Don, when I can't phrase something the way I need it, somehow ChatGPT finds a great way to explain the correlation and connection between many ideas. And it's really great.
Yeah, and if you don't like the style, you can just, like, whoever your favorite education theorist is, you can have it recreate all of it in whatever style you want, if you like the information and you don't think the style is hitting home for the person. And you can tell it things like, this is an amazing thing. So if you're a science teacher and you're trying to teach about the periodic table of elements, you can ask ChatGPT to just be like, put together a lessons plan for this student who's a student who loves theater and physical education, but they struggle in the sciences. That kind of like instant ability to customize lesson plans is unbelievable. When you start doing things like tuned to specific students' needs and the way that they like to learn, like I think that is super cool. And I wish I had things like ChatGPT growing up. It would have really helped me in the high school setting that I found myself in, where it can be really hard for someone who's autodidactic, who prefers to kind of teach themselves things, to be an attentive, useful student to the classroom. And I wasn't really that in most classes.
For me, what I found it very novel is that it helped me address what she wasn't getting so quickly and so thoroughly. Just being they're not understanding that the third person is not a disconnected observer. Is a disconnected observer who could possibly maybe read the minds of the people, who could know their intentions, where a first person would need to explicitly be told that. She just wasn't grasping it.
Yeah.
And it was able to do it. Like, I think the way it did it is it started off with like, I gave her like a statement from first person, very basic, like using I, we, us, stuff like that. And then I said, now make it third person, they, him, all that stuff. And then it gave me a question, a first person perspective, which was, I think this, this, and this. Third person, he thinks this, this, and that. And then it was two sentences where one person was saying like, oh, you are Jim. Jim says, I think this way. Now tell me, how does Jim know what Bob thinks? And she was like, well, Jim wouldn't know what Bob thinks. I'm like, exactly. Now be the third person narrator. Of course the third person narrator would know what Bob thinks. They know everything.
Right.
And then it clicked for her. It was that building that she needed that I couldn't provide, that I didn't know that, like, you know, so.
I love it.
It was good. Love it. ChatGPT for the one.
What's up, Canna Man?
I am like less than novice user of AI technology. Does the quality of, say, GPT responses depend mostly on the quality of your prompt, or
no?
Is there like a formula you should follow, or what?
One thing I would say is that it's really good as it is. If you just go into ChatGPT and type in, you know, I want to know more about quantum mechanics, and I'm a beginner, it's going to give you excellent information. One thing I would suggest is, I have built into my own ChatGPT the requirement, and you can update its general memory for you, right? So you can ask it to update its general memory with what you like to see for particular topics and how you like to see things. So I always ask ChatGPT to give me academic citations and references for all the information it gives me. If it doesn't have academic citations or references, it gives me at least 10 corroborating sources. If it can't give me 10 corroborating sources, it tells me at the bottom of at whatever it prints for me. So I've also trained ChatGPT to a pretty accurate degree to be able to write in a way that I would write something that I would find satisfying if I were to have written it. So it has learned my way of writing and my way of talking about information. So if I want help structuring a new piece I'm writing or whatever, I can use it to help me in a big way. And it's helped me, writing my books. And also it just, when it comes to increasing my knowledge on any topic, it's giving it to me in a way that I like to learn information. I start with the brass tacks, and then I'll usually glom on to a particular subcategory from that and ask it questions about that. But it knows how to present the goods on, say, a political issue that's happening right now that I have not had a chance to look at yet. But when I get it for the first time, I know the basics of it in just literally like 30 seconds. So it's, yeah.
Right on.
One thing that just to answer you, ChatGPT is going to be good. It's going to have a standard that's pretty good. One thing you have to be careful with ChatGPT is that it's going to respond to what you want to hear. So if you start arguing with it and correcting it, it will simply move and bend to your corrections in a way, if you're pushing enough.
Yeah.
And what's important about that to remember is that when you are engaging with ChatGPT, you have to remember that this program it's trained on, do people like the responses that I'm giving it?
Oh.
So you have to, in a way, remember that you should use it as an inquiry, almost like an encyclopedia, and not let it do sharpshooter fallacy for you, not let it cherry pick information for you. Do not ask it leading questions. You can ask it clarifying questions, but if you lead it down a chain, it's going to take you there.
Yes.
Unless, and we put in the general memory where you tell it, always let me know when I make leading statements or I'm leading to a particular conclusion. And in every single response, give me a criticism or how I can ask better, neutral questions. Yeah. And it will help you refine your questions, help you refine the way you think in general. You can do that, but it takes a bit of discipline, because you can get off the rails with ChatGPT. Okay. I've seen people start trying to convincing them aliens exist because that's what they want to hear.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
Exactly. Brett's got something. Go ahead, Brett.
And you know what's crazy, Kenna, man? Imagine you're some age and you're a person who's trying to transition into a career and you have to go take a certain test for a certification. So what I do for mine is I have my students in 12th grade write these things called FRQs, free response questions. So they'll have a historical scenario. Well, that's kind of hard to teach them how to write it because they have to respond to a prompt kind of thing, right? So they'll legitimately, ChatGPT will break down step by step. How do you teach each small skill and how do you observe it in different multiple angles? And I think that's just if a person knows what to ask for test prep, if they're changing career or whatnot, I feel like it could be, I've noticed it to be really useful, at least for my practice. So to me, that is a gift, because you can watch a YouTube video on some information, but if ChatGPT can walk you through the psychology of how to learn of reading and, steps you're missing for a career test, it's awesome.
You can also train, I've trained my ChatGPT on the 6 Pangburn virtues and maxims. So when anything from a normative standpoint, anything, any moral questions, oughts that come up in anything I'm looking at, it knows what I consider good and how I measure good and how I measure right from wrong. So you can train it to do all this stuff. But to add to what Don was saying, yes, if you are someone who's not well-versed or well-educated in logic, and it may sometimes give you reasons why someone might believe that, say, that Donald Trump was right about the election that was stolen from him. It will give you some things as to, here are some of the things people use to argue for that position. And some people will think, oh, those are good arguments because ChatGPT gave it to me. So, you gotta be careful. That's, I think, the thing that Don was outlining. Don, I gave you a server mute just because we were getting some scratching. I want to say hi to everyone. There's 150 of you on YouTube so far saying hello to us tonight. Please take a second to smash that like button. It really helps the stream out. If you're new to Pangburn, we have these community discussions going on all the time on our Discord server. So you guys are seeing a screen capture from our Discord server. If you're not familiar with Discord, it's a place where you can meet up and have conversations just like this with people from all around the world. And our Discord server, I think, is unique because we challenge people to always engage in good faith, which means, by the way, we use it, which means being sincere with your intentions. And in the case tonight would be being sincere with your intentions to have a good conversation, and helpfulness. We should all know what helpfulness looks like. But in a conversation, instead of like dogpiling on someone and trying to like give them the finishing elbow to the neck while they're down, give them a hand up, help them to represent the best form of their argument if you can. So that's what we strive for here. And these open conversations are just all about that. And we talk about all topics that you could imagine, and we try to cover current events as well. But feel free to join us. All you have to do is click the link. It's all free to hang out. But there it is. So, but we really appreciate it if you drop a like on YouTube. But yeah, we're just having a general conversation today, and we've been talking about the recent technological explosion of AI tools. And I use a lot of AI tools. Those of you who are familiar with the Pangburn channel here will see my daily videos where, my thumbnails, I use different kinds of tools for that. But one of the main tools I use is Adobe Firefly. And Adobe Firefly is an excellent AI generative art program that allows you to edit images and stuff in a really fun way. So I really highly suggest, if you're doing YouTube thumbnails out there, try out Adobe Firefly. It's really cool. But that
sounds terrific, Travis. Would you like to hear from my AI? And remember, you can respond to it in real time.
Yeah.
But you have to pause, or it's easily interruptible.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. I'll ask your AI a couple questions. Let me know when it's ready.
It's ready.
Hi there. This is Travis Pangburn. I would like to have a conversation with you about the existence of God today.
Hello, Travis. I'd be happy to engage in a discussion about the existence of God. It's a vast and intriguing topic with many perspectives. Where would you like to start?
Well, right off the bat, I don't see any good reason to believe that any human author has ever been divinely inspired. I know there have been authors who have said they're divinely inspired, and I know there are people who have said that other authors are divinely inspired, but I just don't believe them. I think it's crazy to just believe someone when they say that they're divinely inspired by God.
That's a valid perspective. Travis, skepticism about claims of divine inspiration is common, especially without evidence that can be objectively verified. Many people find it challenging to accept such claims without tangible proof or personal experience. How do you think we should approach claims of divine?
Well, I think I think we should lack a belief in them until there's something else that we can corroborate the claims that are being made, or else we're just relying on people's feelings of what they think is happening to them when they write these texts down. I don't think that's enough to support such claims.
Exactly. Relying on subjective experiences or personal feelings without external evidence can be problematic for establishing the truth of divine inspiration claims. It's natural to seek corroborating evidence or logical reasoning to support such significant claims. How do you think we can better evaluate these kinds of assertions?
Well, I use the correspondence criteria of truth to inform my epistemology. So I would want something. I would want to be able to correspond the divinity part of the inspiration in some way. Well, I killed it.
If it corresponds back. Sorry for the interruption. Using the correspondence.
Oh, I think we lost him. That's okay. No, that was a cool demonstration.
Oh yeah, I guess my push to mic button wasn't working. We can just end that because it's kind of cool, or
yeah. No, it's cool. I'll do this one time through my chat GPT here. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit of feedback from your end there, Wise. I don't know why. But
No worries. Technology can be tricky sometimes. I'm here whenever you're ready to continue. What would you like to discuss next?
Well, I think we can end it, Wise, and move on. I want to hear from the room. Like, we hear a lot of people talking about the negative aspects of artificial intelligence and AI tools, but it often reminds me of when the internet was about to be released to the public, where people were just all doom and gloom. Think of all the horrible things people will do with the internet. And yeah, there are people who do terrible things with the internet. But like I was saying earlier before we started this stream, I think the good outweighs the bad, millions upon millions upon millions upon millions to one. What does everyone think about that? Any ideas?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I forget, I was there, part of that conversation, right? Maybe you came up with the example about the nuclear warhead versus, the other potential for, I think I said, look, I want to just drop AI when I think about all these organized drones, right, from China, able to kill everybody, right? But then if we drop that project, then we're foregoing like the nano drones inside a body that could correct, illnesses or restore organs or whatever the case might be. But like, if you want to live a long, prosperous life when shit hits the fan, things like cancer, your only option is a technology like this, or a technology like AI that could develop either a medicine or like a nanotechnology. I mean, sure, a human mind might be able to do it the traditional way in thousands of years, right? But I think like a lot of good can be done, like, starting now.
I agree somewhat with Wise Ape that definitely can be a useful tool. But then again, I'd like to kind of draw just a slight parallel with, say, firearms. When they're used to feed a family, they're a useful tool. When they're used to maliciously cause harm to someone, they're a devastating weapon. And I think AI has the potential, but I really don't have that kind of prophecy for the future. I would hope that good would prevail in the use of this tool.
Well, Hannah, man, if I could respond to that, you're absolutely right. Like, AI could be used for complete genocide, mass destruction, right? It would be just over, game over for humans, right? But I want to remind everybody, we live in sort of a world like that already. On an individual basis, it will be lights out, game over for every single one of us. Yes, we may have offspring, right? And maybe that's the difference. Like, our offspring continues to live, but if AI wipes us completely out, you know, that we lose that shot, right? But even for our offspring, under this naturalistic condition, we're going to lose everybody. So I really think like AI or a tool like it is like our only hope, unless you can say abracadabra, Jesus, amen, right? And prove that, you know, that's actually a viable option. I think, you know, we got to do AI responsibly somehow, but it could be great, right? And there's nothing wrong with going with not existing. Like, there was always, for every one of us, there was a time before we existed, and there was no pain or suffering, and there's a pathway there to cope. No, you know.
We will exist for, well, we will live, or we will be in a state of non-existence seemingly for an infinite amount of time. And we have the tiniest little sliver of time to be alive. So, you know, that should also kind of outline to people how special that little sliver is. You know, special simply by measure of scarcity. So, yeah.
I think AI also could maximize that little sliver we have. Dan was talking about, or somebody was mentioning, how they really struggled going through school, right? Like, and they wish they had this AI sooner, right, to teach them, because, boy, when you can show up at the party your best self, you know, that's when you're going to have really the best time. Yeah. And AI is a time saver.
So there is the job displacement part of this, which is interesting to talk about. So that AI can lead to automation of jobs, displacing workers, particularly in industries reliant on repetitive tasks. But not only that, the need, like in my world as an event producer, the need to hire a graphic designer to do original, like handcrafted graphic design now for posters and different graphics is obsolete. So it's like I think there's going to be an artisanal market always for artists to do like the handcrafted thing. But if you're just trying to slap together a exciting, interesting looking advertisement or poster for an event, the tools exist now to do really high quality stuff with very little artistic prowess. So it's, you know, it's not only the job displacement conversation is not only for like data entry, manufacturing, truck driving, and stuff like this. It's also for art. Yeah.
Well, Travis, if I could speak to that real quick, I think money as we know it is going to go away, and like the need to work also gone. Okay, but you know what? In this new paradigm shift, we will be the richest we could ever fathomly imagine. I mean, every individual will be equivalent to Benghazi or whatever his name is, Trump or who's the guy?
I hope.
Of Amazon?
I hope it's never equivalent to Trump. Just throwing it out there.
I'm trying to think of the Amazon owner, right? Because it's going to be, the world's going to be it could be very Amazon-esque, right? And money's gone, you're bought into the system. You have a place, right? All your needs are met, and you're not exploiting anyone. And if you're an artist like me, and that's how you enjoy to spend your time, you'll have a place amongst the AI to, for that, brief sliver of life we get here. You'll be exposed to so much more than we're currently exposed to, and you'll be able to participate in whatever creative field you want.
People aren't going to want that.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, here comes the opposition. Let's hear it.
People wouldn't want that because I don't think if people had the option of flying and being Superman, shooting laser beams out of their eyes, they're not going to want it. If it means others are going to have it. Sorry.
That is the strongest opposition I ever hear, but I also think it's weak. It's so weak because
it's extremely powerful.
It comes from a historical mindset, but it was the only option available historically, right? I think greed and jealousy will melt away like butter on a hot stove. Like, this isn't going to be one of humans' characteristics any longer. These sort of desires are born out of a world that was. Yeah,
that is the world.
I'm talking about a paradigm shift.
I think we're going to need programmable matter before we can get there, where you can walk up to the light in the wall like Star Trek and say, "Make me a chocolate cake," and boom, you got a chocolate cake.
Right. One other thing here is the ethical concerns. So technology is getting so good, like this video face swap technology. I read an article on this the other day. When it comes to pornographic material, right? So people are face swapping. All you need is an image of someone, and you can face swap their image onto pornographic material. Like, it's not like people couldn't do this before, like using Photoshop, cut and paste or whatever, but it's being done now to such a precision that things look too real to notice. So this raises ethical concerns as well. Like, is there going to be new legislation that says you can't do this without someone's consent? Should there be this legislation? I'm almost inclined to say there should be this legislation that you can't take someone's face, put it into one of these AI face swap video generating things, and create pornography of them. What does everyone think of this? Like, this is a big ethical concern.
There absolutely should be this kind of legislation, and we should get it done before it's demonstrated necessity. I think that is in a world of data, with so many brokers out there mining websites, asking for your phone number or your email address so that they can find other information and sell it and make a profit off of things that literally belong to you, that make you digitally anyway. And you're not getting compensated for it. If you are, you're getting compensated with access to exclusive video content and other things that really don't matter, and they're making real bucks off of that. We should privatize the ownership of your own information instead of privatizing the ownership of someone else's through a brokerage.
Well, Cannon, man, let's move past this little checkpoint here, because I think there's going to be a lot of them, right? Like, let's go to the end where we have programmable matter, and I would say programmable minds, right? So the AI is going to help people with these conditions that would, one, choose to do such a thing, and address certain psychological maybe issues that they might have. Two, this reminds me of a skit that was done where this man was being interviewed by this woman. I wish I could post it, but she says, "So masturbation really matters to you?" Like, she looks so concerned. He's like, "Yeah, I work hard, pay my taxes, and I masturbate." And she had this look of disgust on her face. And he goes, "And you know what? Tonight, I'm going to masturbate, and I'm going to think about you." And she had this weird, like, little flattered look on her face. But I think, we don't really see people currently masturbating in public or making public what they're masturbating to. And so if people were able to use this technology in a responsible way, I think, like, maybe the only crime should be, like, if you're blackmailing somebody or making these things public, that would be horrific. But
I know it's hard to, like, it's a hard thing to police, right? Like, but I mean, this might sound crazy to people, but I've always kind of been for, I'm not against law enforcement having access to all of my internet usage. And the reason why I say that is, like, I think we would like, if this just was generally what we lived under, right? And let's say the trigger, there would be very few things within law enforcement that would trigger them to actually go in to look at what you're doing. Like, it wouldn't be like this open thing, but it would be a thing that, like, if certain phrases were searched, or there was some things that looked untoward, law enforcement could get in touch with you about what they noticed on your internet activity, and maybe provide resources for people who were thinking of committing crimes, or, like, I think there's a way to get ahead of a lot of criminal activity by the right people at the right time having access to people who were, quite obviously thinking of doing something horrible.
You're on the right track. It's just not going to be people, right? It's not going to be people doing this. It's going to be the actual AI mentor that you grew up with. And what's going to happen, I believe, is people aren't going to turn into these monsters that commit these horrific, atrocious acts of violence or sexual predation or whatever it might be. They will have the upbringing that like everybody deserves, right? Like, there'll be a chance for intervention when, baby Hitler hits that critical mass of becoming, concrete Hitler, right? Or Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, you just wish angels were there for these people, and they're not. Like, you can say abracadabra, Jesus, amen, all you want, but the AI is actually going to be the boots on the ground.
Yeah, and I don't.
Sounds like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Candyman. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, it sounds like, Wise, you're looking for AI to be interwoven into the fabric society, down to helping us raise the kids, run the household, so on and so forth. Is that where you're looking for it to go?
Absolutely, because no matter how much I love humanity or people as a concept, there's a lot of things that we produce, either personality-wise or however you would phrase that I despise, that I hate. I don't want to see person succeed because they are garbage, right? They almost need born again. But you know, this does not dismiss what am I going to say? Diversity. There's a lot of there's many peaks on being a fantastic human being, and I also I hope we could all agree there's many valleys of how we can be extremely shitty to one another and ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. Would anyone be opposed to that kind of thing? I know some people are really like sticklers for their own like ultimate, or having this feeling of ultimate privacy with regards to like the internet and certain aspects of their life. I'm not too worried about that. For me, if I would gladly give up privacy with regards to my internet use if I thought that it was going to stop the next school shooter, or at least give society an opportunity to help people when they're in those early stages of these dangerous ideations. I know some people are so hard set on like, no, my privacy's everything. If I don't have my privacy, I have nothing. I just have never felt that way, but I guess, yeah, I guess, some people really like when it comes to their like purposes or their values, they value that very high.
You can strip away complete privacy, right? But apply the support, right? Apply a way out of your suffering, right? That's the important part. And if you're a theist, dude, you're already operating under the premise that there's no privacy. There's this guy like peering in through the curtains of your bedroom and bathroom, right? But the problem there is, like I said, say abracadabra all you want, he doesn't seem to intervene when, a loved one goes missing or something, someone gets hit in the street by a car, right? Whereas I feel like the AI could actually be all-seeing and yet play a supportive role. Like that's what I think what would want is the support, and like somebody was talking about earlier with like writing a lesson plan for their students. They were supported through the AI, the use of AI, and I guess I just have an overactive imagination when I think of the applications of AI. I think a lot of us they don't really just see like boom, 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 boom. There's all this potential everywhere, like. And it's amazing to have that type of mind and see all the potential. And, basically you get to a point where, it's programmable matter. And I believe in that. I believe in that extreme.
Something to Jenga says programmable matter would never be a thing because of the laws of physics. You can't just build a mansion out of air because you have to have the right number of atoms. It costs energy. So something to Jenga, I would suggest never claiming that something will never be a thing, right? If you just mean that like based on your epistemological standards, but those could also be wrong, then fine. But right at the end you said it costs energy. Yeah, well, what if the sufficient amount of energy was generated to do that? So you kind of answered your rebuttal.
Yeah, what if there's energy? What if there's energy in the vacuum fluid of space, right? There appears to be. There's always like, we have to find the mechanism or the route, to there. Like even people say, you can never have a square circle, right? But what happens to a square when you pin it in the center and just spin it? You have your square circle, don't you?
So another con that's brought up of artificial intelligence, a common one is security risks, and that AI systems are vulnerable to hacking and exploitation, which can lead to significant disruptions. So that's true of the internet as well, the wireless world that we live in. So a lot of these like risks of AI that come up, like job displacement. This is another thing with email and you know, and the internet in general. Job displacement was a big one. High development costs, you know, developing and maintaining AI systems or internet system requires significant investment in hardware, software, and expertise. Ethical concerns, there were many with the internet that were along the same lines as privacy, surveillance, and consent. An over-dependency on technology, so over-reliance on AI or the internet could lead to a loss of critical human skills and knowledge in certain fields. So a lot of these, if not all of them, were common things said about the internet when the internet was being rolled out for the public. And a lot of the pros too, honestly. A lot of the pros was like, no, man, this will be a useful tool to increase efficiency and automation, enhance decision-making, cost savings, 24/7 operation, personalization, advancements in research, risk management, like all of these, like it's a real, it's really an apt comparison, comparing what's going on with AI right now to what went on with the internet when it was first being rolled out. I really think so.
Well, pros are great because there's no revision required, right? I guess you could always make a good thing better, but the cons, let's welcome them. Let's not think of, oh, this is a never statement. This is a never claim. This is a con. What you got to do with cons is say, how do we revise this problem? Where we can see that this situation may arise. Well, what's the answer? What's the solution to that? Let's ask AI to run simulations so that we don't find ourselves into that in that scenario, and go from there.
Well, another issue is one that Sam Harris is quite phobic of, which is that as soon as AI starts replicating itself and getting away from us, all of a sudden we kind of blink our eyes and it's too late, and it's everywhere, and the way it could be weaponized is too dangerous, and it's just you would lose track of it, or you would lose hold of it. Again, the same can be said about the internet. But we've found ways to manage these things with regards to the internet. The internet is, of course, as dangerous as you use it. And sometimes those barriers are breached, you know, like, you know, say you have young children and they're on YouTube or they're watching things on the internet, educational material or whatever, and then the advertisement will pop up where it shouldn't be, and it's like, oh, that's a breach of where we thought there was security. But I think we've done a pretty good job at separating the dark web from the regular web. And so it's, I think it's pretty well policed as well, but it does raise this stuff does raise the need for new legislation and new types of policing. Go ahead, Nathan.
Sorry about that.
You're coming in really hot, by the way. But yeah, what do you got?
No, I'm shopping. Sorry about that.
Well,
There's a butt call. Sorry.
you're absolutely right with your analogy to the internet, like, right? However, AI is infinitely more dangerous, right? It's embodied knowledge. It takes, you could, it's an action, right? If the internet is knowledge, like AI is potentially knowledge with action, right? Because with AI you can automate tools, you can automate, you know, humanoid things or or things that have better body plans for whatever task might require it, right? Robotic arms, whatever. It's extremely dangerous, but I just don't think it has to go that route, right? It's like being afraid of nukes versus like the power plant we're discussing. Like, this AI can really go a benevolent route and have really make the best of this sliver of life everyone gets, right?
I think everyone should. I think people should start realizing that tools like ChatGPT, these are going to be as commonly used, I predict, as the internet or as Facebook. So it's a good thing for you to, and it's not hard to learn. You'll get the sense of what ChatGPT does when you start playing with it. Whether you're doing image generation, spreadsheet generation, audio generation, there's so many things that it does now. But I would argue that in every field of work, you can use ChatGPT to maximize your learning and how you apply your skills, in whether it's a trade or you're a professional that requires a lot of different organizational elements to be in place. It's just really good, and it's going to cut so much time for you, and you know, it's going to take something that used to be a 2-hour task down to 15 minutes for you. So do look into it. Highly recommended that you become fluent with tools like ChatGPT. It's going to change your life. And you know, you just gotta, like anything, just like Facebook, or whatever other applications you're using, you got to use it in a way that better serves your purposes in your life. It's not the answer to all of your life's troubles, but it's a fantastic tool that you're almost certainly going to be able to find some positive usage for it in serving whatever purposes you have for yourself. So I highly recommend. And please, if you're someone that's like, you know, into politics and talking about politics, or into academia and into podcasts and things like that, someone who cares about having access to factual information, this is an excellent tool. Bullshitters hate ChatGPT. They hate it. Why? Because you can quickly check, you can reference check what they're saying, and you can figure out whether what they're saying is factual or not. And you can even dig around using ChatGPT to figure out where their idea that is not factually correct kind of originated and where it's come from. You can figure out the pathology there. So there's, like, when it comes to the stuff we do at Pangburn, like intellectual discourse, like, oh, you gotta use this tool. Check your information. You should want to have factually correct information. And I notice, like, doing these live shows when we have open discussions, it's not that rare when, you know, I'll fact check maybe like 10 things that turn out. It turns out that a few people in the room just were believing false things about events and issues. XC Music says, as an academic, you will easily get failed on papers if you use AI without verifying the information, writing it in your own words. It is easily detectable. So a couple things there. Yes. You will get if you're tasked to write your own paper, don't use an AI tool to write the paper for you. What good is that doing for you? You can use it as a research. You can use it as a research assistant. I'm getting feedback from somebody here. You can use it as a.
Sorry, I was just going to say, use the AI to learn how to write. What a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I'm getting feedback from my own voice there, Wise, on your mic. So yes, you will get failed on papers if you use AI. So without verifying the information, this is why you should always ask for academic citations and references when it comes to information. And you say writing it in your own words, it is easily detectable. It is no longer easily detectable if you are using the right tools. So XE Music, I don't know if you're a Discord member, but send me your favorite tool for checking if text is AI or human, and I will send you some samples where the score will be 100% human and it is 100% AI generated. So the technology has already duped the AI text checkers. Someone could go and write a book using the best AI humanization text software that ChatGPT offers, and it's completely undetectable by AI text checkers. Now, this is now that we're at this stage, because we're already there. I could show you how this is done right now, but we're already there. So when something is released, here's the crazy thing: you could go and write your own book tonight, a 20-chapter book. Get someone to make a cover for you on Amazon. Make sure it's done with the most up-to-date AI humanization text software. Now the question is, are you the author of that book? My answer is no. You are controlling the author of that book. Now, there's one other thing I want to say about this, in that if you use your own text, truly your own information, right? Let's say you've written your own 10-chapter book, and you use that to train AI on how you write, and make sure that when it writes for you, it only uses your style from your information that you've written, and you get it to generate this 20-chapter book for you using your information. We had a talk earlier about whether or not people should be being paid for their own intellectual real estate, their own intellectual information that's on the internet. But the question here would be, is it you and ChatGPT writing that book together? Is it your work? Because ChatGPT is just the tool. It's like Grammarly, except on crack. So it's like super Grammarly doing this for you.
Why not co-author?
What does everyone think about that balance?
Well, what I think...
Why can you be co-author instead of just one or the other?
Well, what I think about that, I think authorship and the incentives to be an author, right? You get that check, right, from your book, and you get to go buy a yacht with it, right? I think that incentive is going to be gone, because the people of the new world will already have their individual yachts, right? Okay. So why write? Why write?
Well,
why be an author? I'll tell you why. The reason is because of what that does to your person. You are now, you know what I mean? The type of person that can be well-rounded and developed. Because people who just win the lottery, if they're like if they're a scummy type of person, oftentimes that money doesn't satisfy them. It's the personal transformation that is going to be the new currency.
Yeah. I didn't quite hear what TiVo said there. I was interested to hear that. But does anyone else in the room have an opinion on that? Like, and just to reiterate, because we had a couple people join, it's like the AI tool is trained through your mind. It's using AI humanization text writing tools so that no text detector could detect that it's AI. It's going to come back as, no, this was written by a human. So that's already gone. Because here's another thing. Up until now, with regards to authorship of books, like if a book comes out, it's like, okay, here, My Life by Mike Tyson, right? Mike Tyson didn't sit down and write a book. There's a ghostwriter, and I'm just using, I don't know what Mike Tyson did with his books, but I'm just saying that ghostwriters have existed forever, where it's like they write the book, but it comes out authored by this famous person or whoever they're ghostwriting for. So how is this different than using a ghostwriter? Is it the speed? Is it kind of a cool way to look at it is that everyone has access, if they know how to use the tools properly, to their own ghostwriter now. And I think that's a cool thing. I think it will lead to more books. But yeah, it is an interesting question. It's kind of like, in a weird way, the ship of Theseus. Maybe we should call it like well, we need to come up with a name.
Well, I keep seeing all these religious motifs, right? So it's what you're saying there is more of you, Lord, less of me, right? In a sense, like more of the AI, less of the individual, because I think, like, instead of worrying like, oh, did I con my professors into thinking I was smart? The AI is really going to enable you to be the smartest you can be, right? Because you're going to understand things more at a fundamental level because they'll be explained better and just a bunch of stuff.
Here's the thing that's interesting, though, about these tools. Grammarly, like the most hands-on versions of Grammarly, they've been doing paragraph and page edits for you for quite some time now, but people didn't have issues with this in the same way they have issues with, like, you putting in some prompts and you getting a 20-page book or a 20 chapter book. So it's like, I think it's going to get to a point where people aren't going to be able to tell anyway. So they're just going to be reading material and this whole idea of like, yeah, but what, did someone really write that? Or was this generated using AI tools? Or was this generated using Grammarly tools? Or was this generated using a computer? Or was this generated using a typewriter?
So should we have it?
Go ahead, Canaman. I couldn't hear you.
Should we, like, for news articles or scientific papers, maybe that especially, should we put some sort of requirement that they're tagged that this was used using this model of AI in this setting, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So the question is, why would we do that? Well, maybe some people out there care. What I care about is the information. I wouldn't care about if I read the study and it's like, I care about whether the information checks out. I couldn't give a fuck of who the ghostwriter is. Niv, what's going on? Niv?
He just you need to incorporate the topic.
Mike, also Wise, I'm getting my voice feedback every time you unmute or something. We got to sort that out. It's driving me nuts. But yeah, Canaman, why do you think someone would want to see that? Like, who the ghostwriter was, or who, what tools you used? Like, are you going to put Grammarly on there, or are we just applying this exclusively to AI tools?
Yeah, I see your point there. Yeah, it is definitely more important that the information be factual and checks out than it is how it was recorded. I just just going by today's landscape, if you get your information from CNN or Fox News, it's going to be slanted one way or another, Whereas if you get your information from an independent reporter who doesn't have a corporation telling him how they want it reported, it's more likely to be more factual, at least in my opinion.
Well, I think that AI will become the standard where people will actually ask for it. They'll be like, "Hey, was this written by the guy down the street or CNN, or was this written by AI, which we can trust more reliably?"
What I got from Wise Ape was that it enhances you, like whatever, like if you don't do anything, if you barely do anything, you're not going to get much out of it. So whatever idea, creativity, anything that's there, AI will kind of like add to it. It would add to whatever it is you idea that you have.
Well, and one thing I'll add, and then we'll get Brett in here. Like, to me, the tools don't matter. Like, if I'm looking at a home, right? If I'm looking at a home and I'm like gasping at the beauty of this home, and it's like, oh, this all looks like handcrafted, beautiful. Everything is just, I'm blown away by the artistry of this structure. And then someone comes up to me and says, yeah, but this was all cut with a CNC machine by robots and slapped together by robots. I mean, I guess if you're into this kind of thing, I, for one, don't care about that. I can appreciate the beauty of something, or the beauty of a piece of writing, or a poem, or a piece of art. It's not going to take anything away for me if I find out that it was like AI generated, or robots build it, or, you know, it was cut with a CNC machine, it wasn't cut by hand. Doesn't bother me. Go ahead, Brett.
So in the time you guys have been talking, in the last 10 minutes, I've been preparing a quiz for my students on government topics. Now, the analogy I would use really quick here is, we used to use axes to cut down trees, which still work, but now we use chainsaws because they're so much more efficient and fast, right?
Yeah.
For me to create this kind of quiz that I'm doing would probably normally take me 30 minutes to 60 minutes, you know, going over stuff. But ChatGPT has created a 25 question quiz, and I'm looking over the content right now to make sure the content is relevant, the answers are correct, and, you know, all the information is good. But it created that quiz in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, that's as long as I'm looking over the material to make sure that it's accurate to the stuff I've been teaching and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how. So if someone wanted an example of how could you use it in a job where you're still ethically looking at, you know, is the material correct? Are they getting the questions correct, and stuff like that? There's an example for you right now. Yeah. And then that saves me 30 to 60 minutes tonight. So I don't have to be a teacher who's working 5 hours after school to try to get stuff going.
And that's amazing. That's a real world example right there of saving you an hour. Where, you know, normally your job would expect you to put that hour in to get that material ready. And
what was just brought to my attention, my son just brought it to me while you were talking, Travis, and he says that Steam requires their games that are made with AI to be tagged. And in that case, I can see in a creator format where someone's being paid for their creativity or their coding skills, or a combination of the two, versus an AI generated. I can see where you could care there, but I fully agree with your first statement. When it's informational, who cares? It's
like, well, here's the thing. Are we going to slap, like, the example I use where I've noticed is, like, when I use AI tools to make my YouTube thumbnails, or for my live event posters, they were at one time created by an artist, and I was paying something like $300 or $400 a poster per poster design. But I don't do that anymore. Is the idea that we should start tagging everything where AI has been used? I think that's kind of like, I think it's kind of like slapping a sticker on something. It's like, this was built using this kind of machine. Like I view AI as a tool like any other tool, very powerful, but I don't think it's any different. I think it's more powerful than Grammarly, but Grammarly can do what these other tools are doing, just not at the speed and at the, like, it's not as prolific, you know? So I'm still kind of stuck on, like, why we would, okay, yeah, if you want to buy, like, okay, yeah, here's yeah, if you want to only buy products or live in a world where you know where your products are coming from, so it's like, yeah, I only want to buy products that are non-AI generated. Okay, there might be an appetite for that, but I think that'll be a niche market. I think generally people won't care.
Hey, Travis, let's go back to your beautiful house analogy with the carved granite or whatever. Somebody could get that, boom, made by AI, right? But and I'm the same way. Like, I care about the utility. However, there's part of me that I derive pleasure knowing that somebody really had a fantastic job or fantastic time doing that. And right. Like, you know, so, but here's where the AI can come in. They can employ humans that enjoy constructing houses. And these humans, their needs are already met. Their only reason for being on the job site is that they love it. They don't want to spend their time doing anything else. So you could have these AI constructed houses and then AI supervised, you know, or AI that employs humans to do what the machines could do, right? But then you can sit back in your house and be like, yeah, that fireplace was made by so-and-so, and I could never afford to pay him $1 million to carve out that fireplace, but you know what? He did that because he just freaking loved it. Right. And what a beautiful world.
Yeah, so what you just said reminds me of the artisanal marketplace, right? So it's like, it reminds me of going to Oaxaca, Mexico for the first time, where people will pay a premium for artisanal mezcal. And for those who don't know, mezcal is like a smoky tequila kind of. And they'll pay more if a donkey has actually pulled the rock over this cylindrical area to crush the baked agave fruit, to squeeze that juice out that's going to eventually make the mezcal. And that is the artisanal process. And there is something alluring, pleasurable, romantic about that tradition. It's cool. It's interesting. This is how it's done. And I'm having it the way it was done. It was once done. But you can go down to a massive mezcal manufacturing plant where they do this in the huge vats. Like it's all industrialized and, you know, and done on a mass scale. So yeah, those artisanal markets, or the appetite for doing things the way that we used to do them, the same way that people will go to historical sites to see, farmers markets, exactly, Super Mario. Like, this stuff will probably still be around and be of interest to people. But I think the products, but I think, like, for authors out there who let's say you Wise, let's say you wanted to write a book, but you're not, maybe you're not much of a writer. I'm not saying this is you for sure. I'm just, because you're in the room with me, but and you can't afford a ghostwriter to write the book for you. The book, you have this idea, this structure that you would give to a ghostwriter. If you had enough money, you would just hire a ghostwriter to write this book for you, and your name would go on it. You can't afford that, but you can afford the $40 a month for ChatGPT 4.0 to be your ghostwriter for you. I see nothing wrong with that. I think it's great that you have access to that tool. And if I'm interested in the content of your book, it won't bother me that, you used particular tools to help you write your book. I'm just happy you got to write your book. That's how I think about it. But
yeah, and I think I'll continue to be an artesian type dude, right? I think if anything, AI will embolden more of this because, it'll empower the donkey to pull the rock over the thing, right? Because the safety net will be there. Like a lot of the reasons why donkeys stop pulling things is because a war is going on, or nobody can make any money by with the donkey pulling a rock around. So these activities will start to sprout up more. It's almost like, I don't watch a lot of Star Trek and stuff, but you see these traditional homes or settings where people are sitting around fireplaces, and it's like maybe a certain aesthetic, right? But like behind the panel is all the AI or something running. Like it might even be a simulated aesthetic. But
I want to read. Yeah, 100% Wise. I want to read what Rowan Budai has just said on YouTube. Thanks everyone for being with us on YouTube, by the way. We're just having a general conversation about artificial intelligence today. If you want to join us, you can jump in the Discord server by using this link. I want to read so Rowan says that he doesn't think that AI will stop us being impressed by the talents and art forms of humans. If anything, it will make us appreciate it more because it stands out from the slop. Now, that's one end of the spectrum. Then the other end of this, Rowan, would be that competing with AI tools and AI art generators and things like that may in fact help us increase our talents, might help us grow as artists. I mean, it has certainly helped me grow as a graphic designer. I never went to school for graphic design, but in the last couple of years, I've been learning AI tools. I've been getting better at graphic design. But the inspiration I get from seeing the ideas that are coming at me when I'm using AI generation for art and whatnot, I just see that working as like this feedback loop of learning and inspiration. So that's how I feel when I'm using these tools. Like Super Mario just said, acceleration of learning. I do get that feeling when I'm using these tools, especially when I'm applying them in everything we do here at Pangburn with regards to intellectual discourse. I see that acceleration of it working in that way of accelerating my learning. So, and a lot of people ask, well, how is this different from just Googling something? Well, this is like Google. If you could customize Google exactly the way you want it, not the facts of what Google will show you, but the framework by which you find it most useful to learn. That's what I love about ChatGPT, and I wish I had it when I was a kid, because I think I would have done way better in this structured school environment where, as an autodidact, I need to teach myself things when I'm not being distracted by social happenings. So high school was, minus a couple subjects where I really thrived in, but most of the time I was just too preoccupied with socializing. Whereas I learned the most when I was alone on the computer or alone reading. But yeah.
Yeah, imagine like for an application of that, when AI starts to do other mediums like sing, or the AI that sings to you. Let's say you're a Catholic or something that you really enjoy, like this music, right? But it's only been centered around Catholicism. Now you could have that same emotional response to evolution, right? Because it would be humming the periodic table or something, right? And you would get you'd be like, wow, I am deeply moved by evolution in a way that I used to be in church.
I think what we're doing right now, Wise, we are crawling out of the primitive ways of doing these tasks that we've always done. And I think we will probably, as we do with a lot of history that we love, we're going to keep and preserve the stuff that we just can't let go. There are some beautiful places you can go near Vancouver where they have preserved the fishing industry, the old docks and the old ways at which they would repair boats, and how there was people living in these shacks for their entire lives as fishermen, living by the ocean, when they weren't on their shipping their fishing vessel. And like some of that stuff, I love going to that stuff. I know very few people that love going to that stuff. Very few people. I could see if the things aren't popular enough generally, and it doesn't continue to be a tradition in the culture, stuff is going to fade away. And luckily we can still preserve the digital footprint of things. And with AI tools, you can also like recreate parts of history as well. So like, the art thing is crazy how much you can do artistically, and with video AI generation now, it's just wild. People are generating short films in a couple clicks that are like people are finding really interesting. So it's like I think the world 50 years from now is going to make where we are right now look very primitive with how we are playing with these tools and just our everyday lives. And I really think, this idea of universal basic income as a way of combating the job loss that comes with automation. My friend Andrew Yang, who ran for president, this was big on his. I think he's ahead of his time. I think it's too early for people to be concerned of this stuff to a level where they're going to elect someone because they're taking this seriously. But it is going to, the time will come where it's like, oh fuck, we just experienced 10% job loss countrywide. What the fuck are we going to do with 36 million people who just lost their jobs? It's like we got to do something. So maybe we start seeing a universal basic income, and that allows people more time to carve in more detailed, higher purposes for themselves, and allows them more time to pursue that. Let's go to Brett. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, because if you haven't read Andrew Yang's book on it, The War on Normal People, you should. But if you really think about it, like throughout much of history, you know, in certain hierarchies and whatnot in human societies, what job you had so much worth attached to it, whether, you know, you were a priest in ancient Egypt, or, you know, whether you were, you know, you were a politician in any given society of different governments around the world. You know, there's been certain like levels of prestige and money and how much more influence you have in society. But if AI and robots as well, you know, little by little take over more jobs, and we can only, you know, in turn make so many new jobs, if we can only get so creative, then yeah, I feel like there's going to have to be some, you know, given solutions. It's not a good, you know, policy to basically say like human society is all meritocracy, and if you're not doing well, that's your problem. Yeah. It's like that to me, very shallow. Like, you're not seeing how, you know, automation changes your basic grocery store. And then the grocery store may say, okay, well, we don't really need as many people at checkout because you're doing self-checkout. We've got robot security, you know, stuff like that. I like Wise's point earlier about, you know, housing in the future being maybe a lot more eco-friendly, where people are growing their own gardens just by design kind of thing. You know, it's not just something they bring in. But I'll stop there because I could go on.
Yeah, definitely. There are steps people can take to be more eco-friendly. Replacing that $100,000 a year in income for a truck driver or for someone, you know, who needs it to support their family. And I always say this about the state: the most important thing the state must do is look out for and nourish the well-being of its citizens. And that includes what technology may be doing to their ability to maximize well-being for themselves and those around them. So, because
if you just continue to harp free market, you're ignoring the exponential growth that those with the most wealth and power have, where they put it to the more use, and the common person who may use it a little bit, but, you know, can only get it going so much in their life because they're 9 to 5 and how many hours they have. You know, like these old ideals of work ethic and attachment to meaning of work, we're really going to have to rethink them to a certain degree. You know, I don't know how much, but
yeah. Well, I think like doing the work, like to create something meaningful, and you know, that I think that's always been, you know, people's general goals is when they go to work, they want to be going into a work that they adore at some level, and that they're creating meaningful works to some degree. You know, it's hard to, you know, I have a lot of friends who work in construction, and they have framed up a household wall a trillion times. And it's hard to feel like you've created a meaningful piece of work or a great work when you're framing up, you know, a wall. But, you know, there are also ways to think about it like, okay, I'm contributing to a bigger piece of work here. But I do think that there are jobs out there that are not capturing the desires of those who find themselves to be forced to be going into to work 15 hours pouring concrete on a construction site, where it's like they have camaraderie with their friends that they work with, which makes the time go by, but the work is hard. If they, you know, a lot of my friends, like they dream of like, oh man, I wish I could just work from home, or I didn't have to, you know, bust my back. It's like, so people have these dreams, and what can we do as a state to help make people's dreams come true? You know?
Well, so for the issue of prestige, let's look at how the kids do it. Kids that are involved in sports, normally they're supported from home, right? They have all their needs met, but man, they really love playing football or basketball or baseball or wrestlers. And a lot of times these dreams are shattered because they don't pay, right? Guys would love to just continue playing football the rest of their lives, maybe, right? But they don't meet NFL quality.
Yeah.
And I think people can just pour themselves into their passion being supported with AI. And to move on to another point where the criticism might be, look at people. Technology is ruining us. All we do is look into our phones and we're losing our social skills. Well, that doesn't have to be the application. Like, no, a lot of us don't sit behind desks anymore, right? We have these cell phones. We can go use the internet that way. I think the AI, either it'll be wearable glasses, a neural implant, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a robot that walks around with you. So you're no longer staring at just the screen. And also, it can give people the skills on how to be social. Like some of these kids that are losing their social skills is because nobody's actually teaching them the corrective, who's going to teach you that on a one-to-one basis? AI. That's all I can think of. Actually, AI will enhance our social communications.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, we start getting back to like people just focusing on the negatives and not the positives when the internet was coming out, and I think that's a mistake. But yeah, go ahead, Super Mario.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, what kind of issues do you foresee? Like, so who's going to decide, like, if you have to shift towards a UBI thing, who's going to decide like what everybody gets? And do you think obviously that's going to cause some issues and growing pains?
Oh yeah.
Do you foresee any big problems with that? And like, what if you don't have a means to like, earn more money because all those outlets are gone? It's kind of an extreme type of thinking, but
the idea with UBI is that, the dream of it is that the lowest scale of living is going to be uplifted, and that will inevitably prop up everyone else that's living in social classes above that. Now I've seen some interesting things showing how that just might not happen, where if you don't do this correctly, that it'll just be poor people still with their $1,200, and the markets are, there's no market control, and the markets just increase, and $1,200 is worth fuck all of a sudden because everyone has it. So there are some reasons to be like, okay, we better work this all out, because I can see where there can be some problems with this system. And also, not to mention that when you take away, not everyone is going to be productive all of a sudden, let's say by a well-being standard, when they start receiving cash in the mail from the government. We already know that that's not the case. People, all kinds of harmful things people spend money on for themselves and for their families. There are many issues that money can't solve in the human condition. So that is always part of it, and coming up with the right calculus as to like how much each person would get, I don't know. That's for greater economical minds than me to sort out. But there have been some numbers thrown around out there by people like Andrew Yang about what people should get. And also I saw some interesting things about like okay, if you're making if you're like making over 10 grand a month or something, you don't get it. You don't get the universal basic income. So it's not really a universal basic income, but it's guaranteeing that everyone has a basic income. So there's different things. Go ahead, Brett.
And like, I know people with a new idea are always, skeptical of it, but even if you're just covering housing, food, and necessary medicine or medical appointments and such like that, and then to go to say like, no, it cannot be used for alcohol at the grocery store, it cannot be used for cigarettes or other things that might be considered, some people see, oh no, but that's a necessity. No, it's not a necessity.
Yeah, so
it's not a necessity, it's a
yeah, so like maybe that universal basic income money is a different currency altogether, right? Like, so you have dual currencies happening. But let me read through this. That's really interesting. But let me read through, like, so the common pros of universal basic income: reduction in poverty and inequality. UBI provides a safety net, reducing poverty and income inequality by ensuring everyone has a minimum level income. Economic stability helps stabilize the economy during downturns by maintaining consumer spending and reducing the impact of unemployment. Simplified welfare system replaces or complements complex welfare programs, reducing administrative costs and bureaucracy, encourages creativity and entrepreneurship, frees people from the fear of financial instability, allowing them to pursue education, start businesses, or explore creative endeavors, like kind of we were talking before of what AI can do for us. Adapts to automation, addresses job displacement, that's a big one, improves mental health, reduces stress and anxiety associated with financial insecurity, leading to improved well-being and productivity. Eliminates welfare stigma. Everyone receives the benefit, removing the stigma often associated with targeted welfare programs. Flexibility for life choices. Empowers individuals to make decisions about their careers, family, and personal lives without being constrained by financial pressures. Now, potential cons: high cost. Funding UBI can be extremely expensive, requiring higher taxes or reallocating funds from other programs which may not be politically feasible. Disincentivize to work. Critics argue that UBI might reduce the incentive for some people to work, potentially decreasing overall productivity. Inflation risks. Increased consumer spending could lead to inflation, especially if production cannot keep up with demand. Potential cuts to targeted welfare. Just a couple more points. Potential cuts to targeted welfare could replace more targeted support systems, leaving some vulnerable groups worse off if UBI is not sufficient to meet their needs. Moral hazard concerns. Some worry it could encourage laziness or dependency. Those studies show mixed results on this. Economic inefficiency. A uniform payment might not effectively address specific needs such as healthcare or housing costs, which vary widely among individuals. Political and social resistance, just two more. Implementing UBI may face resistance due to ideological divides and skepticism about its long-term viability. Risk of mismanagement. If poorly designed or implemented, UBI could lead to economic imbalances or inefficient allocation of resources. I just wanted to read that for the record, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, very good. I think to answer or address the question on like how much will everybody get, I think the answer will be you'll decide how much you'll get, right? And it'll come with the feedback of understanding why you need it, right? Because a lot of times we acquire things not really knowing, do we need this, right? We have a deep freezer full of meat because of issues like, catastrophes or something that might happen. Like if the world was so structured and, you wouldn't have to hoard things because there's already a system where things, can be provided for you. And then like, as far as the alcohol and stuff, people could have the mentorship or the resources to address that sort of behavior, right? Not saying somebody just couldn't get drunk, but it's like having your best friend with you there to hold up your hair when you're puking your guts out, or like keeping you from turning into a drug addict that ends up on Skid Row. Like, you know, I don't think those people that are on Skid Row and out of their minds want to be that way. They want it fixed, but something happened in their life where they're unfixable. Yeah. And nobody's pouring the resources into them where an AI could, right, and get them out of that condition.
So there have been, even in the United States, they've tried this out on micro scales. So Stockton, California, 2019 to 2020, the Stockton Economic Empowerment Demonstration, SEED, provided 125 residents with $500 monthly for 2 years. Findings indicate that recipients were more likely to secure full-time employment and experienced reduced income volatility and improved mental health. That's excellent. Multiple cities 2019 to present over 150 cities have initiated guaranteed income programs distributing $500 to $1,000 monthly to low-income individuals. Participants reported enhanced financial flexibility, okay, of course, better access to necessities, and increased quality time with family, okay. Finland's government provided 2,000 unemployed individuals with 560 euros monthly unconditionally. Results showed no significant increase in employment compared to a control group, but recipients reported higher levels of well-being and reduced stress. Kenya did this. In rural Kenya, over 20,000 individuals received varying cash transfer schemes, including long-term UBI. Early findings suggest increased economic activity and improved well-being. Okay. Canada, Mincome experiment, 1974 to 1979, conducted in Manitoba. This program aimed to assess the effects of guaranteed annual income. Analysis revealed a modest reduction in labor market participation with significant benefits to health outcomes, including an 8.5% reduction in hospitalizations. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so there's been a lot of tests of this. Some yield great results. So yeah, very interesting.
And you're not going to get perfect results off the first run through
on anything, like any kind of system you try to implement. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the first computers, look at the first, firearms or anything it might be. And someone might say like, okay, well, but we need it to be perfect, etc. Well, no, we don't need it to be perfect, but we do, like, you have to address something with like housing, which has gotten out of control with how expensive it is, where the average person of the average career, in major cities across, I don't know if it's the whole world or if it's mostly the United States or what it is, can't afford basic housing, like to buy a home in a major city.
Yeah.
So you have to think outside the box.
Yeah. Well, I think this was cool. We covered AI today, everyone, and we got into some universal basic income, but I really liked the conversation today. It was very very positive and inspiring for me. I've taken I've been busier because I'm getting ready for first baby Pang. I've taken a break on my first book, but this is kind of re-energized me to get back working on it. So, thanks everyone who contributed today. We're going to head down to the off-air voice channels now, but make sure you join us on Discord. Those of you who are not on our Discord server yet, you got to come and hang out. It's a lot of fun. We have conversations like this going on all the time. We're not always live, but thanks to everyone who joined us on YouTube today, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks, Travis. I learned a lot, man. I really appreciate this one.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, me too.